Now it's about to blow up. Germany and the EU are on the brink of self-destruction, and even a kind of civilizational suicide is looming. That's the massive warning from J.D. Vance to Germany and the EU. And if this scenario, which Vance describes that if this happens, then there are only two options. Either buy Bitcoin, or pack your bags, and get out of the EU as fast as you can. It's really scary what J.D. Vance is bringing to light here. We'll look at how this is connected to Bitcoin, to the financial markets, but also why this can be a massive catalyst for Bitcoin. With all the debt packages, the billion-dollar bombs that are now being planned by Friedrich Merz and the Green Party, which has now managed to get its climate nonsense through. And even more money is being redistributed, even more debt is being piled up. We're taking a look at the whole situation, the madness that's happening right now. But first, let's dive into J.D. Vance's speech. And J.D. Vance has repeatedly warned that the EU is facing some really big problems, and not just the EU. He particularly focuses on Germany. In the meantime, even the credit rating is in danger. I mean, Germany still has a AAA rating, so it still looks really, really good internationally. But ever since the massive debt packages were announced by Merz and so on, interest rates have already started to rise. So these are already the first signs of how Germany is starting to wobble. But hey, let's not beat around the bush. Check out what J.D. Vance has to say, and then we'll look at why this is super relevant for the financial markets.
I really believe that we have a great deal in common with Europe. And I'm not, yes, the Europeans annoy me sometimes, and yes, I disagree with them on certain issues, but we have to remember that is the cradle of Western civilization. The entire idea of Christian civilization that led to the founding of the United States of America, that was formed in Europe. The cultural bonds, the religious bonds, these things are going to last beyond political disagreements, but I think that Europe, and frankly, I would have said this about America a year ago, but Europe is at risk, I think, of engaging in civilizational suicide. They are unable to, or unwilling, too many countries to control their borders. You see them starting to push back against that, and good, that's a good thing. You see them starting to limit the free speech of their own citizens, even as those citizens are protesting against things like the border invasion that got Donald Trump and a number of European leaders elected. So look, I want Europe to thrive. I want them to be an important ally. Part of that is going to be Europe respecting its own people, respecting its own sovereignty, and America can't do that job for them. If you have a country like Germany, where you have another few million immigrants come in from countries that are totally culturally incompatible with Germany, then it doesn't matter what I think about Europe. Germany will have killed itself, and I hope they don't do that because I love Germany and I want Germany to thrive.
So that's really concerning what J.D. Vance is bringing to light here. And it's not like this is new or anything. He's just saying out loud what a lot of people here in the EU or in Germany don't want to address, that the EU or Germany doesn't respect its own citizens. This is about immigration. He's criticizing the immigration policy. Secondly, he's criticizing the certain censorship that definitely exists here in Germany. There's going to be an interview going online soon with a tax advisor who is really seeing more and more cases where people are actually getting home searches and stuff like that happening in Germany. So this is really crazy what's going on here. And he also says it doesn't matter what you think about Germany, but if they keep going like this, they're going to destroy themselves. And it could be that J.D. Vance is wrong in his prediction. Feel free to write that in the comments below. But I think after the last federal election, it has become very clear to a lot of people here that some things are going very, very wrong. And especially when you're a freedom-loving person in Germany, you realize you're being lied to from start to finish, whether it's the central banks, the politicians, and so on. And the side that J.D. Vance has highlighted is just one side, which means it's censorship, immigration policy, and according to J.D. Vance, that's already enough to tip Germany over. But there's also the other side, and that's just as disrespectful, if not even more disrespectful. And here, Roman Rear posted something very, very interesting. He says, or rather, it's not really great news, but he definitely posted a clip about what the XXL debt package means for them. And now it's also important for Bitcoin. Green light for the XXL debt. After a marathon session that lasted until 5 a.m. on Friday, it's clear that the Union, SPD, and Greens have agreed on a debt package of up to billions of euros or more. And this is the total market capitalization of Bitcoin, so it's a bit less. And here the block trainer also says it means by Bitcoin. That means repression is coming our way, inflation is coming our way, and potential expropriation is coming our way. We are not respected, the citizens are not respected, your savings are not respected, your opinion is not respected. And now Friedrich Merz has even agreed that Germany should become climate neutral by 2045. That's the ultimate thing, and a lot of people don't understand what that means. Climate neutrality by 2045 is nothing more than an Orwellian nightmare that can be used to justify anything. You can then be told, hey, for the sake of the climate, we'll shut down the entire economy. For the sake of the climate, you can no longer do this or that. For the sake of the climate, you can no longer eat meat, and so on. So what's coming our way is almost like a CBDC situation. The CBDC is still planned. So many things are happening in parallel right now. Red Ralph has written a massive commentary here on climate neutrality by 2045, because it's really so absurd, which I'll read out to you briefly. So you really have to understand what's going on right now. So many things are happening on one level. That is, Vance started here, immigration policy, censorship, then it goes on to all the debt packages, then it continues with the climate madness and so on. And now check this out, are they completely crazy? This is the best and most insidious oppression machine that even George Orwell couldn't have imagined. With that, everything that people do can be banned. So now it's about climate neutrality. Eating, drinking, traveling, breathing, really everything. And it's in the Constitution. This means the path to the Stone Age is enshrined in the Constitution, even though the Greens have been voted out. This is a coup. And I also posted about the situation yesterday on X, because I'm not in Germany right now, I'm abroad. But from my perspective, as someone who only sees this through Twitter, social media, maybe YouTube or something, the situation looks like this. Saving the economy with debt, saving democracy with censorship, saving the climate with bans, and changing the government with the same people. And that's the current situation here in Germany. And that really should give you something to think about. And that's why more and more people are thinking, okay, I need a plan B, I'm leaving Germany. So many people are saying, hey, I want out, I'm already gone, and so on. I don't want to say, everyone get out of Germany, and so on. So not at all. So stay in Germany if that's what you want. Everyone really has to decide for themselves. Those are just some options to think about. For sure, what's not up for debate, or maybe it is a discussion, I don't want to pressure you into buying Bitcoin or anything like that. Everyone really has to decide for themselves. But what makes sense is that with these massive waves of expropriation and so on coming our way, all these debt packages aren't just decided on and then there's no inflation. I mean, anyone who thinks that is really naive. But at the very least, you should actually look into Bitcoin. Feel free to buy Bitcoin. So if you want to buy Bitcoin, I'll put a link down below to 21 Bitcoin, where you can easily, safely, and simply buy Bitcoin. Here, with the code Bitcoin Hotel, you can still get up to 20% off the fees when buying Bitcoin. But like I said, you have to decide that for yourselves. I don't want to tell you what you should or shouldn't do. But a whole lot of people are coming to that conclusion now. First, get out of the money system. Second, get out of the EU, get out of Germany, because a lot of people have lost hope now. A lot of people still have hope, but I don't know if that's going to change quickly in the next 1, 2, or 3 years. I mean, long term, I'm bullish on Germany. Germany is still a great nation. Germany is very, very well located geographically, and so on. But you can really see how politics can drive a country to ruin. But feel free to write in the comments if I'm seeing this wrong. I mean, this is all good for Bitcoin, and that's why I'm making this video, because all these debt packages are very, very bullish for Bitcoin. If the euro explodes, then Bitcoin will explode too. But the euro is crashing down while Bitcoin is shooting up. Here's actually a statement from Maurice Hofchen. Germany is facing no debt crisis with the package. Even rating agencies say that what boosts the German economy is good for its creditworthiness. And that's just, let's say, bad when people like that make statements like that. Like, yeah, taking on debt is no problem at all. We can just throw out 1.5 trillion, more than the Bitcoin market capitalization here, or almost the Bitcoin market capitalization, and it won't have any effect on inflation and so on. And there are still rating agencies that assess this as well, saying that it's no problem at all. But if we look at the interest rates on German bonds, they have already risen after all the debt packages and so on were announced, because the stock market is already assessing that Germany and perhaps the EU will perhaps not be the most solvent region in the future, and that it will perhaps not necessarily have the strongest currency here either. And that's why they're already pricing that in by pushing the bond yields up. So when interest rates go up, there's less demand for the bonds. That means interest rates up, prices down. That's the inverse correlation that's going on. And now we have a very interesting and indeed thorough assessment from Joana Cotar, who really and truly nailed it on the current situation, what the issues are, and why everyone should wake up and can't ignore this anymore.
Madam President, esteemed colleagues, we're committing voter fraud. Nothing else is happening here today in the German Bundestag. Mr. Merz, you will go down in history as the only chancellor who broke his campaign promises even before taking office. But who cares about yesterday's chatter or the trust of the citizens when power is at stake? Or debt, subsidies, rent control, mandatory pension funds for the self-employed, censorship, all laid out in the exploratory paper. $1 billion in debt without structural reforms and without savings, and thus without any sense or reason. Do you unionists actually recognize yourself in this? Is it fun to decide on a policy after 16 years of Merkel that contradicts everything you once stood for and what you promised during the campaign? The citizens have voted against the traffic light policy. Now we are supposed to be here, the already dissolved 20th. Bundestag, exactly this policy is being rubber-stamped. A proposal from Ms. Esken. How low do you want to sink? They shouted that the left is over here. Now they're not just getting into a red dependency, but also a green one. They want to print money like there's no tomorrow. And this isn't just going to blow up in their faces. It's going to blow up in all of ours. But they couldn't care less about our country. They want to become chancellor, no matter the cost. On behalf of all the citizens out there who have to watch your behavior in disbelief, you should be ashamed of yourselves. Germany needed a chancellor with backbone during this crisis. But instead, we got a little man who betrays it.
So all signs are now pointing to the money printer, Go BRR. Joana Cotar emphasizes that again. So that means the money printing press is getting fired up, and it's going to put us in debt. That's inflationary, it's bad for the region, bad for the citizens here, bad for savers, but hey, it's great for folks who have Bitcoin or for those who, let's say, have other tangible assets like gold or something like that. And the funny thing is that Joana Cotar also draws a similar conclusion to J.D. Vance. That is, J.D. Vance is saying here that the EU in Germany does not respect its citizens. Joana Cotar is saying here that Friedrich Merz should be ashamed because the citizens or the people aren't being respected either. So it's really important to understand that politicians are actually the servants of the people. So politicians are not the masters and the bosses and the monarchs and so on who can simply dictate things, but they should actually look and see what the people want, what is good for the people. And accordingly, they should act, govern, and perhaps also think here and control the entire country here. But it's not like the people are being represented here. In some cases, it's actually working against the people. And that's why there's such a huge discontent. And many people have really speculated, okay, maybe things will get better with this election, but the way things are looking now, things are going to get much, much worse. That means you could hardly imagine it getting any worse, but now it actually is. But you can also look at it in a positive way, because often you just need the pain stimuli and often you have to burn yourself. Then you just have to fall, you know? You have to fall off your bike or something. And only then do you realize, hey, okay, I really need to be careful. I can't just go barreling down the hill on my bike without a care in the world. I also need to hit the brakes here. I need to understand how this all works. And once I've done that, once I've fallen down, then I know, okay, that hurts and all, so I'll be more careful next time. Maybe I'll be more frugal with my money. Maybe I'll treat the citizens better and so on. Maybe Germany needs to really hit rock bottom first. I hope not, so I really hope not at all. I just hope for the best for Germany, for the EU, and so on. But you also can't close your eyes to reality. Definitely let me know in the comments how you see the current situation. Is J.D. Vance's warning exaggerated, or did he hit the nail on the head? I'm signing off from El Salvador. Peace out.